back to me. It's been a while since we read. No, it hasn't been that long, but yeah. First Night with the Duke, volumes 4, 5, 6, and 7. So it's been. I want to say it's been almost like 2 years since we read the first three volumes of this, because this was one of the first series that we read through. I think the first year that we were doing Off the Shelf. So
Hmm.
it's been a long time since we read my First Night with the Duke, volumes 1 through 3. And I remember being so there's been some interesting developments with the series. So the publisher that was publishing it, do you have the name of them inside the book or on the cover?
Net comics.
So Net Comics, the people that they were being published into paper by, right? So they went their physical publishing business went under at the end of last year, like end of 2024. And what had happened was I had gotten books 4, 5, and 6 all pretty much at the same time for some reason. The way that they'd published it was they published 1, 2, and 3 pretty close together. And then it was almost a year. And then they published 4, 5, 6 and put the pre-order up for 7 all at the same time. Right. And so I got 4, 5, and 6 at the same time, but I was like, I'll wait for 7 to come out because I don't want to have you just read one final volume at the end eventually. I'd rather just have you finish the series because it's only 7 volumes. Um, but Netcomic announced that their physical publishing house was going under, right? Like ceasing production in like November of 2024. And the pre-order for this book wasn't set to release until January of 2025. And when I had looked around online, so I pre-ordered like well in advance, like 6, 7 months before the book was set to come out. And when I looked around online, I saw that a lot of other people had their pre-orders canceled for book 7. And when they ordered book 7, it like refused to process, right? Like it wouldn't, it would not complete the purchase. And so I was really concerned for a while. Like it was like a good like a month between when all this went down and when the book was scheduled to come out. I was concerned that I was not going to be getting book 7. Like I'd be getting a refund or the book would never appear. And that no one would pick the series back up because the series is completed, it's older, and that means it's less attractive to a lot of publishing houses. They want something that's like new and popular that they can keep releasing books on. So I was concerned that we would never get book 7 and I'd have to like and if we had never gotten book 7, honestly, I was probably never going to have you finish this. I actually wouldn't have given you 4, 5, and 6 at all. I just would have counted it as a loss and kind of moved on. Because I remember our original recording for 1, 2, and 3 was pretty interesting, because you took a very comedically oppositional view on this series during that recording. And you bashed it quite a lot. I mean, in the sake of comedy, I think, but you did bash it quite a lot at the time. Um, but the book did magically appear, and now the books are all apparently orderable on Amazon, so they must have been picked up by another print publisher. Although I've heard nothing about it. I just know that they are orderable now. So I'm not exactly sure what happened. I'm not going to question it. But we have officially completed First Night with the Duke.
My immediate thought is that it was probably that another publisher picked like bought out like some of the assets of the publisher that went under and just had to fulfill and they under that other publisher's name fulfilled whatever orders they could for the final order because I've seen companies do that before. I
Hmm.
think like historically I remember when Borders, remember Borders
Yes.
went under, their memberships that were already paid for were because all their assets were bought out by Barnes and Nobles. Barnes and Nobles fulfilled the memberships that were already paid for with Borders by transferring people over to Barnes and Nobles stuff and
See,
credits
but
for gift cards.
but what I think is interesting, right? Even outside of that though, is so my pre-order shipped in January, right? After my pre-order shipped, the Volume 7 pre-order went live again for a February publication date, still under Netcomics, and that's how it's currently selling. So I'm I'm very curious about what's happened to netcomics. I'm wondering if someone bought the entire imprint, like the publishing house. You know what I mean?
Possibly.
That's what I'm thinking had to have happened. Because the other thing is when you try to go to netcomics, right? Because it used to be netcomics used to be like Webtoon, right? It had an online presence, right? If you go to the website, announcement as of December 29th, 2024, all Android, iOS, and web services were terminated today. But now it's changed and it's added a note that says this will not affect our book publishing and distribution. So it seems like they've completely closed their online presence, but are still operating as a physical book publisher. But there's no website for their physical books. You can only find them like on Amazon.
Well, it could just be a complete restructuring of the business model to downsize costs of licensing.
I'm actually wondering if what happened was they ordered a bunch of print runs of stuff and they're just waiting till they sell out.
Possibly.
That's what I think might have happened. And that's they canceled pre-orders because they didn't know if they'd have enough of the runs, so they just canceled after a certain amount of pre-orders, and now they're just selling everything they have left.
Maybe.
That's my thought process. Anyways, but that's not really the topic of this off the shelf. I just think it's interesting that they've completely ceased web operation, which is like the main selling point for their series, is because obviously they sell the paper versions of the stuff they have on their online site, and you need to have an online site to lure people in to know what you're selling. Because otherwise, they just get lost in the fog of like other websites promoting the manhwas that they have. Like it's actually like this doesn't even come up very quickly on Amazon. Like you have to actually know what to look for to find it on Amazon. So yeah, I'm just curious about it. There's also a live action K-drama that came out this past summer, that I did watch when it came out, once it has subtitles in English on Viki. Um, I think it was interesting because it's the first adaptation of one of these like villainess stories that I've seen into K-drama, um, instead of like anime.
It's
And
probably hard, I'd imagine, because I know what they did with this K-drama with villainess stories
yeah.
to adapt them, because a lot of these are going for a very Western aesthetic, but if they're being adapted in the country they were originally published in, you have a lot of Eastern, like Asian people, like
And
as actors
so
that are available to you. So do you
So
want to?
basically,
Yeah,
what they did for this one was all the characters are renamed to have Korean names. It's done in the style of traditional Korean, like court and like dress and all that sort of stuff. So basically, they just reframe the entire story to work inside of a like traditional historic Korean setting. Um, which I'm actually not that surprised that that's what they did, but it is interesting. It was an interesting show to watch. It's not very long. I think it's only like 12 or 13 episodes. Um, but it was interesting. I don't know if I don't know if I loved it. I don't know if I disliked it. I don't know if I would consider it the same series anymore, though. I think that's the problem I had with the drama, is that like the story itself, oh man, I'm about to hate on my own, I'm about to hate on my own book here. Thinking about the villainess stories is that they're rarely, you know, you know that there's that old saying is that great minds think alike but fools rarely differ, right? Villainess stories rarely differ, except in like their one specific thing. And often that one specific thing is tied to how the characters look, or how they dress, or how they behave in some way in this Western context that these stories are illustrated in. And so to remove that, what they essentially created was a K-drama that looks and sounds like 15 other K-dramas that I've watched. Bears very little resemblance to the manhwa. And it was fine, but it didn't feel like the same story at all, which I feel really bad about. But yeah, I think one of the things about a lot of these manhwas is that like their art style inherently a part of like how you tell them apart and what sets them apart from them just being another K-drama. And so to absolutely lose that, recontextualize it into a different society with different customs and norms,
This could be a whole other manhwa.
it yeah, it kind of is. So it's a fine series, but it doesn't feel like First Night with the Duke.
When you've read so many of them, that the adaptation making a lot of creative liberties makes it a completely different series effectively.
Yeah, yeah. But back onto the topic of the book, volumes 4 through 7. Let's hear from you.
So I don't remember anything about volumes 1 to 3. I sort of
It's
remembered a
been
little
so
bit as we
long.
went. I didn't even remember that I took a comedically oppositional stance in that video, but I have a feeling if I did, it was probably along the lines of, "We've read this before. Deja vu. I've
Nope.
been here before."
Nope.
Really?
No, the stance you took when we read the original 3 books was and the thing is, we've discussed it in the past since, and you've said that it was meant to be slightly comedic. But I remember the episode actually being pretty nasty to record and edit because you came at the first 3 volumes with the stance of he is so the main character was has essentially been coercing her into like fake relation. Yeah, it's that one. It's that one. Yeah. I saw the light go on in your head. You remember now a little bit.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
where he's like following her around because after like the one thing happens, he just follows her around like manufacturing scandal to try to like force her into marrying him in the end. Yeah.
Okay, I don't remember everything about that one, but
Yeah.
that's starting to ring a few bells. This,
Yeah.
I don't
This
think this
this
is.
was we read this early enough in our series of reading these that you actually hadn't hit the point where you were like, it's the same thing. That's how
th-
long ago we read this.
This isn't the one. You can edit out this if you'd like,
Yeah.
because I'm about to drop a pretty
Yeah.
YouTube unfriendly word. This
Yeah.
isn't the one where he basically date rapes her, right? But
This is
he
that
was
one.
very clearly not drunk.
Yeah. This is that one.
Fuck.
Yeah. So let's recontextualize those first 3 volumes in your head. Now, how are you feeling about 4 through 7?
4 through 7 were not good enough for to dredge up those old memories.
See, here's the thing. The first episode we filmed on this series was so like I had to edit around so many things, right? Is that I was almost convinced I would never bring this series back up again. And then I brought it up to you like a year later and you were like, I wasn't actually that negative on it. It was mostly playing it up for the comedy aspect of it. And that was when I started looking for the other volumes. And then the whole thing with 7 went down and how long I was gonna have to. So it's been like almost 2 years, I think.
So if you want me to elaborate on that, because I now that the gears are turning again, I am remembering what my thoughts were on those first 3 volumes.
Yeah. Because
When I was saying how bad that stuff was and how much of a like this is fucked up it was,
mhm.
I really do mean that, and I do mean that as
Yeah.
a negative to this story.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. No,
But there's a
he's not
like
doing good things.
if you surgically remove the memory that occurred from your brain, which apparently I did for these
Yes, you
volumes, so I
did.
can give you a pretty fun explanation on my thoughts on these volumes. The politics, like the court politics aspect, was decently all right, and like some of the side characters, like the villain, I remember the villain girl was all right.
Well,
Like there's a lot that's all right here.
yeah, because in the context of this, like we call it part of the villainess series, but in reality, she was never the villainess. She was
Mm-mm.
just a nameless side character. Her
Who was
best
a friend of the
friend,
villainess.
yeah, but then her best friend, the blonde girl, is like the original protagonist of the story.
So yeah, and now this one's ringing bells. This one's
Which
ringing bells.
Which, by the way, that first episode we filmed, I was right. It came out December 2023, and we filmed it a while before that. So it's been 2 years, basically. Like 2 full years on the turnaround for this.
Well, shit.
Yeah, so you were feeling pretty good about these last four books until I reminded you the first three.
Pretty good as like these books were all right. I was actually texting with someone and I was telling them, yeah, like it's all right. It scratches an itch for this kind of setting. But and I okay, let me give the praises I'm gonna give these books. I do have some praises for these books.
Okay.
4 and 5 have really good cliffhangers that make you want to keep reading. This is why I finished them so quickly.
Hmm.
Like both 4 and 5 have like end their volume, like they end at really good times to keep you going. Um, just the order they pick the chapters in, probably pretty good. Um, and yeah, and I have much more to say. That's really what kept me reading. Because I'm gonna
Hmm.
be honest here, the actual story itself was it's not a villainess
No.
transmigration story, but it's a transmigration story. Like the slightly unhinged prince gets together with the modern woman in a fantasy setting.
He's the Duke, not the Prince. That's a point of
Sorry,
contention.
Duke. Duke. Oh
Because
no.
remember, the Prince keeps trying to get her to divorce him and marry him.
I guess the prince is a character that's wholly in the like wholly new to these 4 volumes
Yes. Yeah,
or
we never
two
saw
or
him in
three
the first
volumes.
three.
And I'll say he was a good villain. I am a lot less positive on him, remembering that the Duke also is a bit of a
Not a great person.
yeah.
Knick-knack. They're just keeping it realistic to medieval Europe. That doesn't
So
make it better. I'm sorry.
and I did get a little bit of a kick out of the fact that in the end he wasn't really punished that hard. Oh no, he has to make some lids. He's still the prince. It's good to be the king.
Yeah, it's good to be the king. Once again, representing their tradition to medieval European history.
Oh man, I haven't been recording my side at all on this one.
It's okay. Zoom will pick it up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um, but like, okay, if I'm gonna this I had a thought on before I remembered that the Duke had some outstanding allegations against him.
Allegations if we know they're true. Like we know they're true. We saw a confession.
Look, he's the Duke. He's never going to be tried in a court of law, and I have to say allegedly, or else
That's
he can come back and sue us, and he
that's
has
true.
all that
That's
power.
true. He has so much money.
Um, but I feel like the ending kind of just happened.
I find that that happens a lot in these manhwa. So we've only ended one of these so far, and that was Abandoned Empress. But
Hmm.
I've read a bunch more of these that have come to the end, and it really does kind of a lot of these really do end in like they solve some sort of like conflict that was going on that was like stopping them from being like completely blissfully happy, and then immediately in the next chapter they're blissfully happy, they have kids, their kids are already a couple years old, and the kids always have one has mom's hair dad's eyes and the other one has dad's hair mom's eyes, and there's always at least one boy and a girl, but usually there's three. um
Like I'm gonna this volume,
yeah, the
I'm just gonna
final.
throw it away for a bit here because this volume is mostly irrelevant fan service.
Yeah, yeah, that's how most of these end because in a lot of these stories, like readers really want the payoff of like that happy family at the end. And so often it'll end the conflict and the story, and then you'll have like a chapter or two of just happy family.
But my criticisms for the climax and the like the ending, I'm talking about here in volume
Yeah.
6. And my problems here are they, like the climax is like one of the villainess who was dealt with in the first half of the series and I think sent to a nunnery was what happened to her.
Yeah.
That's what always seems to happen with these villainesses.
Oh, of course.
She shows up and sneaks into the mansion and tries to kill our main protagonist girl and comes damn close and burns down the mansion. And then she also they all her the protagonist girl and another woman that was like her maid all got away. And then I'm like, okay, we're building up to some kind of final confrontation to deal with her. You have this like, but then it doesn't. Like the actual climax of the story is the protagonist falling into a mini coma where she meets the actual protagonist who swapped places with her. And there's no question ever of if she's gonna want to go back. So there's no stakes here.
Yeah.
And they reveal pretty early that oh yeah we can. This is just to make it permanent.
Yeah.
And it's like this isn't a climax. This is a lore drop.
Yeah.
And
So
like
that's another main staple of these series is that normally somewhere near the middle to end of the series, whoever our main character is possessing, right, the body of, they typically will have some sort of like dreamscape or mindscape meeting with the original person who explains why they're there or why they called them or like how happy they are that everything turned out okay, etc.
and like because there's no stakes to this, I don't consider this the climax because I don't consider this a very and this is the bulk of the book by the way. Like this is the near killing was pretty early on.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, so that was a lore drop. Maybe we're gonna lead into to a more satisfying ending. But then the book kind of just peters out. They do go back to the fact that the villainess got away, but she's kind of gone mad and just kind of writes herself out.
Mhm. Yeah.
And the book just kind of ends. Like the bigger climax was honestly the prince. If
Yeah.
they had ended at the prince or had a moment where like and done the lore drop maybe before that, yeah, maybe could have had a more satisfying ending, but here it just kind of fizzles out and goes into the fan service book.
No, the in this series, the villainess returning at the end for that is simply to provoke a reason for our main character to go into like her dreamscape in that coma, right? Because that is something that really needs to happen in a lot of these series. Is the prince really is the final actual conflict, to be fair. And then additionally, I think we've discussed this recently in a couple of villainess novels, but we talked about it in Abandoned Empress. So this I can't. Is this based on a novel? I think this is based on a novel.
I think it is too, yeah.
Yeah. What I can tell you for sure is that if this is based on a novel like I think it is, I 100% guarantee you the novel handles the climax very differently. The manhwa adaptations always end up with like different pacing, like a slightly different way that they handle certain scenes. We talked about this in My In-Laws Are Obsessed with Me. Remember? Because the author themselves of My In-Laws Are Obsessed with Me admitted that like the story was pacing itself like very differently from the original novel simply to suit the visual medium, you know?
Hmm.
Um, and I think to a certain extent, um, that's interesting to me because arguably what makes it to the audience in the West that's the most popular is the manhwa, right? Like the full color graphic representation. But what's often more popular in Korea where these are being produced is the novel version. And the manhwa is kind of just produced basically as fan service for fans who have already read the novel and just want to see like the art and the representation. Whereas, you know, we don't have that. You read the novel, you like the novel, and then you get to enjoy the fan service of like the art in a way that like might not always be 100% accurate to the novel. We get the manhwa, and very rarely do we also get the novel, and usually if we get the novel, it comes out after the manhwa does. So we've got like a very interesting way that we take in these stories, and I think some of these stories really suffer for that because like the climax of this is definitely funky, and I'm almost positive it wouldn't have been written that way in the novel.
Probably, but like we're if that's what I got to read though, and unfortunately,
Mhm.
if the prince is the climax, like the if the prince is the actual climax,
Yeah.
this puts the Lord of the Rings resolution to shame. The book version of the resolution.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
this is as long as our first submission. This is about half the series. I think it is half the series since that plot line starts here.
Yeah.
So one
Yeah.
half of your series is resolution effectively.
Yeah.
You kind of fucked up your pacing a little bit. Maybe the novels are better,
Um,
but we read the manhwa.
actually, you know what? No, I don't think this is based on a.
Oh,
I thought it might have been, but it doesn't appear to be now. I just spent some time looking it up. It actually doesn't appear to be originally based on a novel, which makes this kind of an odd one out. Because a lot of the ones we've read already are based on
no, it
novels.
says on the
Like,
cover here based on the novel.
oh, it does? Okay,
Yep.
I have not managed to find the novel online. So, you know what that adds to? We barely even have. Okay, yeah, okay, yeah. Huang Do Tol. Yeah, so it was originally a web novel. We have like virtually no access to the web novel in here in the US. Like I'm actively searching for the web novel, and I'm actually not finding like even an online translation into English. Like I'm just finding the manhwa. So, I mean, that's obviously we don't have access to it.
And you do, but like, so all we have to go off here is the manhwa, and
Yeah,
that's what my opinions are on the freaking manhwa.
yeah. Look, I'm not defending this. I'm not actually defending this. The climax is fucked up. They should have done the thing with the villainess first. The original villainess first. That should have happened before the prince. And then the prince should have been the final payout. I don't our main character is not he is not better than the prince. Not really. No. There are issues here, but it I thought it was so fun to come back to it after how visceral the first episode was. Like I just remember like how awful it was to like try to edit that to like remove like certain words and mentions and stuff like that. Um and then like the whole snafu with the publishing and the K drama coming. It was just like this weird like cloud of things that happened. Um that kind of culminates in we've finished First Night with the Duke. It is a 7 volume series. It is completed.
Look, oh dear God. Man, I just realized that I can't be that critical of the pacing of this. Because I just realized there's a Type Moon work, a popular one that has, it's not half the series' resolution, but is just about this bad at how it is like when you actually lay it all out at once. Garden of Sinners does the exact same structure as Korean manhwa. The exact same structure. Where you have a climax and then like a full movie and a half. That's only purpose is fan service and exposition dump.
Mm-hmm. Uh-huh. Yep.
Still, that doesn't make it better. I'm critical of Garden of
No,
Sinners too
no,
on
it
that
doesn't
part.
make it better. I'm not saying it does. Don't worry, I'm not defending it. I'm just
Yeah. Man, I was lukewarm and all I got the series is fine before I remembered that aspect about the first half. You know.
I'll be honest, this entire episode has been like a shit post for me. Giving this back to you was the equivalent of a shit post for me. This is great.
Oh yeah, for people that watch the streams but aren't in the Discord, which I don't think there's a single one of you. There's a few of you, but this is who she was thinking of.
Yeah. I think it was. I think you're right.
Specifically this time skipped art of him because he doesn't
Yeah.
have this haircut and this look in any of the other art. But in this particular art after the time skip, he looks one for one like Dimitri from Fire
Yeah.
Emblem Three Houses.
I do think that you're right that that's what I was thinking of because I got this book relatively recently and it's been sitting on my shelf. So,
I found her putting roots in the wheelbarrow of potting soil.
oh,
That's why she's dirty.
you're so dirty. Why are you covered in dirt? Why have you been playing in the dirt? Yeah. Oh, it actually left dirt all over. What the? Hold on. I just pulled my headphone cord out.
I saw.
Anyways. Oh, I'm so glad we did this one. I'm so glad we did this one.
I have almost nothing to say about the fan service back half.
It's
Like
cute.
it's there.
It's cute if you just regard them as like a happy family, you know? Like it's literally happily ever after. Like that's what these like get together, have like two, three kids are at the end of these stories. It's literally the Disney happily ever after equivalent. Um, almost all of them do. I mean, we saw it in Abandoned Empress where they had like that section at the end that was them, you know. Um, I've seen it in like a bunch of other series as well. Like tons of them.
To my knowledge, ain't Solo Leveling gonna do this.
No.
Okay.
Solo Leveling has an after story, which is so after stories are something that don't typically happen in villainess manhwas, but they happen in most other Korean manhwas that are action based, or romantic. And the after stories typically either follow romance between two different characters, if it's a romance series, like they'll follow like side character romances throughout the course of the story as an after story, or if they're action series, the after story will be like a little excerpt of like what if this one thing early on in the story had been done differently, here's how it would have turned out. Like it'll be like a little like what if episode essentially. But Solo Leveling has an after story, but post the after story, it also has a sequel, Ragnarok, which is about Sung Jin-woo's kid, which is separate.
Ah, so isn't that exactly how Naruto handled it?
Yes. Yes. It is the equivalent of Boruto. But on that note, I think we're done with this episode for now. So we'll see you guys next time with whatever we're reading and whatever you guys see go live.
Bye, guys.